Hey, welcome to our weekly music update. We're going to play a game. I'm going to do some songs, and you get to think about and tell me what they have in common. Good luck. Come the long expected Jesus, born to set thy people free from our fears and sins. Release us, let us find our rest in thee. Israel's strength and consolation, hope of all the earth thou art, the desire of every nation, O joy of every longing heart. That's song number one. Song number two. Hail the day that sees him rise. Alleluia. To his throne above the skies. Alleluia. Christ a while to mortals give. Alleluia. We ascends his native hymn. Alleluia. And song number three. Of divine Allah's excelling, joy of him to earth come down, fix in us thy humble dwelling, all thy faithful mercies crown. Jesus, thou art all compassion, your unbounded love thou art. Visit us with thy salvation into every trembling heart. Okay, you good Methodists out there, have you guessed the answer, or one of the answers? Yes. Answer number one is they are all in the United Methodist Hymnal. Answer number two is they are all hymns by Charles Wesley. Okay, answer number three, there is a third answer, which is even more important, and we will get into that in a moment. But yes, these were all written by Charles Wesley. Now, most people may not know this, but Wesley didn't write the tunes. He wrote the words, and the tunes were added later. Now, there is a big myth, as we know the term, that John and Charles Wesley took bar tunes out of, bars, sailors' tunes, drunk singing in the taverns, and took those melodies and wrote their hymns. Well, we know that can't be all true because most of the hymns are written as poems and then were sung and added to these tunes later. Secondly, the other thing those tunes have in common is they are in what they call bar form. Not to be confused with bar as in tavern, but bar as in bar of music, like measure. And I'll show you what I mean with one of these, okay? All right, so here's bar A. Okay, then bar A repeats. Second line. Now the B section, so A, B. And then a similar A section or an exact copy of the A section. So AAB or AABA is considered in music bar form. And so over time, probably during the mid-1800s, people started saying, well, Wesley was doing bar tunes. Well, he was doing bar tune as in bar form, but not necessarily proven that these are bar tunes. But that brings us into some interesting research. First of all, there are hymns in our hymnal that are based off of secular, what they call secular hymn tunes. Of course, a tune is not secular. I believe they're all sacred and given by God. It's the lyrics that make it sacred or secular, what the tune's about. What I mean by that is the original tune was a love song or a song about something besides the church, and then it was taken up by the church. You know some examples of that. Most of the Irish tunes in our hymnal, Danny Boy, Amazing Grace shall always be my song of praise, for it was grace that bought my liberty, songs like that. Or What Child Is This, right, is originally Greensleeves. Alas, my love, you do me wrong. So there's some that we know. There are also some that we don't know. So we're going to take a look at another tune by another famous person. Let's see, or another song. It is called "O Sacred Head Now Wounded," and that's you probably know that one as a Passion Chorale. It was sung, of course, in Bach's St. Matthew Passion. O sacred head now wounded, with grief and shame weighed down, now scornfully surrounded, with thorns thine only crown. Oh, wait a second. Did you just notice something? That first section repeated, didn't it? I bet this is in bar form. That's ironic. How pale thou art with anguish, with sore abuse and scorn. How does that visage languish, which once was bright as morn? So, how's O Sacred Head Now Wounded is actually in bar form. Now, is it a bar tune? Let's look. As you may have learned from past episodes, down here's a lot of information about the tune. Words, anonymous, Latin translation, Paul Gerhardt, 1656. That was a good year. And James Alexander, 1830. Music, Hans Hassler, 1601. Harmonized by J.S. Bach, 1729. So we know from 1601 to 1656, it was the Hassler tune. Now, what lyrics went with that, you ask? Let's see what old Hans was singing about. Oh, wait, here it is. That is what Hans was singing about. Obviously, it's in German, and it's in Old German. Mein Gemüt ist mir verwirrt, which means my peace of mind is disturbed. Okay, let's see if it's Christian. Mein Gemüt ist mir verwirrt, das mag let's see. Das mag ein Jungfrau zart, bin ganz und gar verwirrt, mein Herz das krankt sind hart. Ab Tag und Nacht kein Ruh, für allzeit größer Klang. Du stellst selten und weinen in schier verlang. Du stellst selten und weinen in schier verlang. And of course, it's really high because back in the 1600s, people's voices were higher. Why were people's voices higher? Because they were shorter. Okay, the average Spaniard or Portuguese sailor that came over to the U.S. during the 1650s was probably about 5'3" or 5'4". So smaller stature and smaller vocal cords mean usually higher voices. Now there are really short basses, but the size of the vocal cords of people back then as well as their average size was smaller. And so the tunes are higher than they are now because the average person was smaller in general. Anyways, aside, let's see what that means. My peace of mind is disturbed. This a tender maiden has caused. I am completely and entirely astray. My heart hurts badly. Day and night I have no rest. Always there is great complaint. Continual sighing and weeping in utter sorrow despairing. If that doesn't sound like Baroque version of a country song, I don't know what does. Was this sung in a bar? We don't know for sure. It's definitely not a sea shanty, but it's definitely a secular love song that was 50 years later, and even later than that, made into "O Sacred Head, Now Wounded." So that's a neat example. So let's get back to the Wesleys. Did the Wesleys write any real bar songs? Well, I didn't think so, but I researched it, and there is a myth, and they believe it's true, that when Wesley was out, preaching in the fields and preaching on the streets to, the public at large and people that wouldn't be in a church, that some rowdy sailors came up and started singing a really bawdy tavern song, sailor song, and interrupted their prayer meeting. So the story is that Wesley went into his study, went into his house that afternoon and wrote Christian lyrics for the song they were singing. So the next time the group met that evening, they were able to drown out the sailors and sing Christian lyrics to the song. So I found the song and I found Wesley's lyrics to it. The song is called The Ballad of Nancy Dawson. Now, that may not just roll off the tongue, oh, I know Nancy Dawson, but I think you'll recognize the tune pretty well. Here we go round the mulberry bush, the mulberry bush, the mulberry bush. Here we go round the mulberry bush is kind of similar, right? Of all the girls in our town, the black, the fair, the red, the brown, that prance and dance it up and down, there's none like Nancy Dawson. How easy meet, her shape so neat, she foots, she trips, she looks so sweet, her very motions are complete. I die for Nancy Dawson. How about those high notes? Because that was written a long time ago. Yes. So, as you know, they get into Nancy Dawson, and it gets a little more PG-13. So, Wesley comes along and writes this on the spot. Listed into the cause of sin, why should a good be evil? Music, alas, has too long has been pressed to obey the devil. Drunken or lewd or lightly lay, float to the soul's undoing, widen and strewn with flowers the way down to eternal ruin. Yeah, that preaches pretty good, doesn't it? So there is one example of Wesley doing a bar song and then writing hymn lyrics to it. So I thought that was pretty neat. Now you may also recognize that tune or a similar tune that is in our hymnal, because you don't hear listed in the cause of sin in any of our hymnals. It's called, I saw 3 ships go sailing in on Christmas Day, on Christmas Day. I saw 3 ships come sailing in on Christmas Day in the morning. It's very similar to I saw 3 ships come sailing in. So really neat history there. So anyways, if someone comes up to you and says, oh, you're a Methodist, you sing those Wesley bar hymns, you can say, yes, we do. We sing those bar tunes and those bar forms and everything in between. It's pretty neat history, and I hope you've learned something today. Have a great week.